Okay, so down here at the creek, and this would be just a kind of typical side of the bank here, mostly all brown. There's like a layer of, I don't know, 1.5 to 2 feet of just regular brown dirt. But then down here is this clay that at first just looks kind of brown, but if you really dig into it, you can see that it's a aquamarine colored to it. I don't know, I'm not behind the camera right now, so I can't really tell, but you know, evidently it turns brown after being exposed to air, I suppose, oxidation. But it's pretty blue, I thought. Didn't know if that is a good example of blue lead clay or what. Let me get a little closer on it. And it's a bunch of it. Alright, so I'm just going to get a closer view of this clay. Give you an idea of what it looks like. Now, over here is what I dig up from the bottom of the creek. Now it's blue, but it's not as blue. It's kind of darker and it's pretty thick. Well, yeah, it's blue too. So I guess it's a lot tougher to dig though at the bottom of the creek. But I guess the question is, where do I dig? This whole side of the creek, which is, there's the top, is full of that blue clay. But this is just not a very fast flowing creek, and really, like I said, it starts just a couple hundred yards away. It's a spring, so I don't think there's ever really a whole lot of water rushing through here, not even during big storms. So do I dig at the bottom? Because there's really no gravel benches here, or gravel bars, I mean. So this looks like pretty good stuff. Maybe I just dig down as much as I can. Okay, this will be a good example of after I've panned it a little bit. I'm going to scooch down here and do a little bit more and kind of show you what I end up with, which would be lots of big chunks of quartz, and then lots of little, well, those little tiny tiny ones, but all kinds of different chunks of quartz. There's a big one in there. Oops, sorry. Never panned and filmed at the same time. So I'm gonna pan this a little bit more, but you really have to break up these chunks of clay like that. They're just balls, and they don't like to break up. But I wanted to show this too. This would be an example of the rocks that come out of here. That they're not clay. They're this blue-gray rock that, from what I've seen, might be that sulfide ore rock. But I've seen a lot of it, so I don't know. Okay, so I've panned this little half scoop down, and let's see if I can zoom in on the type of gold that I find. Well, that's not working out so good. I don't know if you can see that. Let's try something different. Okay, well, you can barely see the little bit of gold there, and it's small. But sometimes I get a little bit bigger than that, but most of the time that's about the size I get. So, I don't know. But I get a lot of black sand. But it's not all necessarily magnetic black sand. I'm not sure what that means. Okay, if this is where I have been digging, I'm going to kind of pan this way around this little curve. This creek's very, very curvy, so right here is a bend in it. And as I walk over this way, there's a little bit of a hole where the water comes down and has to find its another way through, and it actually comes underneath this overturned tree. But yeah, if you dig right here in this hole, it's just straight up dark clay. I'm gonna pull up one right now. if I can with one hand. This will be the stuff. And now this stuff is not as blue. It's just really dark and dense, and well, I mean, still grayish blue, but I don't know. The question is, should I just dig on top, or should I just keep digging until I get to the bedrock at the bottom of this stuff? Because it is just, it's gritty, full of rocks, quartz, you name it. And then there's those gray rocks that look like the silver ore from the photos I've seen. I am up above the creek now to kind of get more of a perspective of this part of it and show actually how curvy it is. It actually curves and heads on that way. Here's another interesting thing here is what looks like a ancient riverbed or ancient creek bed, and this part doesn't look like much, but up that way, that's where it looks like at some point a long time ago either somebody made the creek go this way or it went this way itself. You can see where it kind of carved out a little gully. I don't think it was a road, especially if you go down through here. One thing that's kind of a telltale sign, being a place over here where I was digging, hit these rocks. Well, I mean, this is just a pretty big old scraggly rock here, but it's rounded. There's really nothing sharp on it at all. And if you go up here a little bit higher, here's another rock that's rounded. But this being such a little spring-fed creek, how would it get so much erosion done to these these rocks? Unless there was a lot more water at some point. This creek is just full of places where the water just has to stop. It's never really moving fast, but then it'll come to places like this where a tree's roots have grown completely over it, and the water has to find a way through. I don't know if that's the place to look or what. Here's another interesting place where apparently another part of this old creek used to be. Kind of hard to see on this video, but in person you can really see it. There is a kind of a gully that goes on down that way, and I dug a hole over here right in the middle of the gully last time I was here, and it was just pure of that gray, but this time really smooth clay. I'm gonna get up there and look at it. All right, here we are at the hole that I dug. It's full of water, and it filled up as soon as I dug it too. So I'm gonna dig it out a little bit. Okay, so I dug out some of this clay. It's not nearly as blue, but you can just see the water seeping in there. I mean, it's bluish gray, more gray than the other stuff. But its consistency is much more like modeling clay or something. Good and squishy and a little bit more brown, has more like organic material in it. And I may attribute that to the fact that it's, well, let's see if I can see it over here. Well, it's a lot higher up than the place where the creeks got dug through. Okay, I'm back. I cut a cross section in the side of the creek to kind of show the overburden. I'm in the light, so I better move, but the dirt starts giving way to a little bit of a mixture of dirt and clay. I encountered a brick-sized quartz rock right about there, and then went on down from there, and then boom, blue clay. So where do I dig?